So, you've probably heard the terms repo and reverse repo thrown around. And yeah, they sound super complicated, like something only bankers in slick suits should care about. But what if I told you they're actually the hidden plumbing of our entire economy? They control everything from your savings account interest to the country's financial health. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and make it all make sense. Let's dive in.
All right, here's the plan. First, we'll start with a super simple analogy, a pawn shop. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how it all works, see how these tools steer the economy, figure out who gets to play in this exclusive club, and finally, we'll connect it all back to your money. So to get our heads around this massive financial engine, we're going to start with something we can all picture, a simple pawn shop. Believe me, this analogy is the key to unlocking the whole thing. Okay, check this out. Imagine you've got some gold, but you need cash, just for a day. You could go to a pawn shop, give them the gold, and get cash. But here's the deal. You agree to buy your gold back tomorrow for a slightly higher price. That's a repo right there. Now flip it. Imagine you're the pawn shop owner with extra cash. You can lend it out and just hold on to the gold as security. That's a reverse repo. It really is that simple at its core. Okay, analogy locked in. Now let's scale it up. We're swapping out the pawn shop for the central bank and the gold for government securities. We're not talking about a few bucks anymore. We're talking about billions of dollars shuffling back and forth every single day. This is the daily money shuffle that keeps the lights on. So think of these as two sides of the very same coin. A repo, which stands for repurchase agreement, is all about borrowing. A bank needs cash, so it basically pawns its government securities for a short time. A reverse repo is the opposite. It's for lending. A bank has too much cash and it wants to park it somewhere safe and earn a little interest. They are perfect mirror images of each other. Let's walk through a repo transaction. Step 1. A bank is a little short on cash for its daily needs. Step 2. It goes to the big boss, the Reserve Bank of India, or RBI, and sells them some government securities. Step 3. The RBI hands over the cash. And then step 4. The very next day, the bank buys its securities back, paying back the cash plus a tiny bit of interest. Done. It's that quick. And just to give you a sense of the scale, if a bank borrows 100 crore rupees for just one day, the interest it pays is about 1.78 lakh rupees. It's a huge amount of cash moving for a relatively tiny, super safe fee. Now for the other side of the coin, the reverse repo. This time, a bank has too much cash just sitting around not earning anything, so it lends that surplus cash to the RBI overnight. The RBI, in return, gives the bank government securities as collateral, just like the pawn shop holding the gold. The next day, the RBI gives the cash back, plus a little interest. And what's the reward for parking that same 100 crore rupees with the RBI? Well, it's about 1.71 lakh rupees in overnight interest. It's not a massive return, for sure, but it is completely 100% risk-free. It's literally the safest parking spot for money in the entire country. All right, let's zoom out a bit. This isn't just about banks balancing their checkbooks every night. This daily shuffle, this is how the central bank actually pilots the entire economy. These are the main control levers. So here's the genius of it. When the economy feels a bit sluggish, the RBI uses the repo tool to pump money into the system. This makes it cheaper for banks to borrow, which encourages them to lend more, and that gets people and businesses spending. On the other hand, if inflation is getting a bit hot, the RBI uses reverse repo to suck that extra cash out of the system. This cools things down and also sets the absolute bottom floor for interest rates everywhere. So if there's one big idea here, it's this. These aren't just simple overnight loans. They are the central bank's primary tools for fine-tuning the entire money supply of the country every single day. It's economic management on a truly massive scale. This naturally leads to a big question. If this system is so important, who gets to use it? Can I just show up with a few thousand rupees and get in on the action? Well, let's just say it's a very, very exclusive club. Yeah, the guest list is pretty short. We're talking commercial banks, primary dealers, those are the big institutions that deal directly with the central bank, and a few other huge regulated players. And notice who's explicitly not on the list? Yep, you and me. Retail investors are not allowed at this party. And there are some pretty solid reasons for this. First off, these are tools for steering the economy. They're not meant to be a savings account for the general public. Second, you need all kinds of special accounts and high-tech systems just to handle the transactions. And finally, the minimum buy-in is in the crores. It's just not built for individuals. So, okay, we can't get into the club directly. But does that mean it doesn't affect us? No way. In fact, let's trace exactly how the ripple effects from this high-level game trickle all the way down to your wallet. So it all starts at the very top, with the RBI. They're the ones setting the rates and conducting this orchestra every single day. From there, the first interaction is with that exclusive club we just talked about, the major banks and the primary dealers. They are the only ones shaking hands directly with the RBI. Now, from that inner circle, the money starts to flow outwards. Those banks then work with other big players in the market, like the mutual funds that manage our investments or the finance departments of big companies. And this is where it finally connects to you. You see, those mutual funds, especially the super safe, liquid, and overnight funds, they use the repo market to generate a safe return on your money. And the interest rate your bank gives you on your savings deposit, you better believe it's heavily influenced by these repo rates. So even though we're not in the room where it happens, we absolutely feel the results. So if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Repo and reverse repo are the steering wheel of the economy, and they're operated by the central bank and a few big institutions. The rest of us, we access it all indirectly through the financial products we use every day. And that leaves us with something to think about. This closed-off, indirect system is built for stability and control. But, as the financial world changes, you have to wonder, is this really the best model? Or could a more open system maybe offer some new benefits down the line? It's a really interesting question about how our financial world is put together.